All right, welcome to Living the Dream with Todd Probasco from Lakeside Bank. And I'm really excited. We have a cool special guest today. We have Mr. Jeff Burnett from the Marengo Ridge Golf Club. He's the head golf pro out in Marengo, Illinois. And we're going to hear about Jeff, his career, and what's going on over at Marengo and why everybody should come out and check it out for golf. But Jeff, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about you and your background in the golf industry.
Okay. We're coming into the season this year. Everybody's getting excited. Background on being active throughout the years has been started mostly funny in this exact neighborhood that I live in here. One of the kids in the neighborhood would hit balls into the woods. And I'd run out there as a kid, and I'd gather all the balls that he'd knock off the ridge out here over this pond into the woods, and created a collection. And beyond that, got interested in swinging through a basis that my father brought to me, which was with a big green heavy tarp material he hung from a couple trees, because it's kind of a jungle out here, and instead of the nets and everything, we could blast balls into this tarp, and it'd make a loud noise when you'd hit the tarp, which was exciting for me as a young man, and enjoyed practicing making contact until beyond that I was playing mostly 9 holes if I'm lucky, with a wing park position on the Elgin Township golf course, which they're redoing the clubhouse on. Historically, it's an old clubhouse, brick. Get your tee times, get your hot dog, your chips. And we play all summer as kids. Maybe swim after, go to the pool. Had a lot of fun with it. Met new people. The camaraderie is probably one of my favorites. Whether or not they pair you up with maybe twosome, threesome, single, another, gentleman, you go out by yourself. However that would be, it was fun. Again, you're on the course as a young man, looking for golf balls, of course. Gotta love the golf balls that you find. They're like right. Easter eggs, exactly. Coming out of Easter. My kids still actually have me do an Easter hunt for them annually. But yeah, no, it's just a passion I've had. I've enjoyed the competition, the basis of challenging myself, and seeing where that comes in with competition with others. Perspective wise of and I like this interpretation, pursuing excellence. Pursuing the excellence that's required to make pars regularly,
right?
If not better.
Let's talk a little bit about your golf career. Did you play high school golf?
Yes, sir, I did. I did Elgin St. Edward's High School.
Where is St. Edward's High School?
It's Fox River, basically Fox River School, off of the Fox, maybe a couple hundred yards from the river.
And in Northwest Illinois.
Yep, Northwest Illinois. Fox River Valley School. It was an older school, but we competed at St. Andrews and had our home course at St. Andrews in West Chicago.
Nice.
Which was a real treat. That facility, the group that I'd play with, we'd get up bright and early and have to be off the tee there at dark, where your first few shots you couldn't even see the ball.
I love it. And then what did you do after high school golf? What happened then?
High school, I pursued college. D1 wanted, a goal, and the goals specific was to get a scholarship. And I was able to accomplish that, and went to Murray State in Kentucky and competed as a sophomore. I redshirted my first year and competed as a sophomore there. Met some, competitors from overseas, and really expanded my basis of competition with, collegiate level play. The restaurants in the evening with dinners with the team, to hotel rooms, and travel, and just continue to sort of maintain that drive to try to get to the next level, outside of that, I pursued a professional career. The school career was enjoyable, but within the college years, I was able to compete. I had to go away from amateur play and see if maybe I couldn't continue to build my game, with pursuit with other pros. And the insight I was fortunately able to achieve, getting from these local area pros, not knowing I was going to get into that industry, but made some headway with getting kind of lucky with some of the pros that I've been able to deal with to really get my game to the next level. And that's the primary goal, in understanding things, realizing that in college I did slip into a little bit of needing the guidance, mentally, and,
Right.
and trying to focus, more mechanically than I should have at that point. And then finally received the grooming I needed as a young man to know that side of the game. And that stayed with me.
The two parts of the game, the physical and the mental, right?
Correct.
And what was the old saying? The distance that has the most effect on the game are the inches between your ears.
Yes, sir. 100%.
You agree with that? As a pro, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. No, and then again, and in finding that understanding,
you got to
finding
the right.
The trust in yourself, all the facets of overcoming, obstacles of what you don't really think of, I think, without that influence.
Yeah. And the variables, the things you can or can't control, how it affects you when you're playing, it's a big part of the game.
Absolutely.
So, all right, we're going to fast forward in the essence of time a little bit.
Okay.
I think it's pretty cool that you're a Illinois PGA professional, playing and teaching. I think that's kind of cool. We'll come back to that in a minute. Like everybody wants to know, everyone's always hearing about new courses, new tracks. As you know, I'm a golfer. I love to experience new things. Marengo, for those of you who don't know, really isn't that far from Chicago. I went and looked on the map, Google Maps, and it's really not that far. So after you hear about Marengo, I think it's not a bad idea to think about going out there and setting up a game or playing around. But Jeff, let's talk about Marengo Ridge Golf Club. What is going on there? Why Marengo? Tell us a little bit about the golf course and a little bit of history and why someone would want to play there.
Okay. Yeah, Marengo, it's always been a course that I've played, with being in the vicinity. I actually had a PGA event out there when I was head pro at Itasca Country Club. And the nice part about Marengo, at least from the playability standpoint, it's one of those courses that will allow you to score, and post sort of a boosting sort of morale for the game, where you go to play some of these other tracks, courses. They're challenging. You may break 80 on a good day. You can go pretty deep at Marengo. The dog legs that are out on this course are they're awesome because you can take the corners off of them. And there's, I think, 12 to 13 out of the 18 holes at Marengo are dog legs.
Wow.
Which is fun. And it's on a moraine. There's some hilliness. It's on an ancient moraine, in that area. So it sits up quite a few elevated tee box situations.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the camaraderie is great. There's good membership. The ownership's family, with Bob Whittick, having had his dad own the club as a young man, And the history out there is wonderful. It's where they had the fish fries at the old barn, and I guess a big jukebox. I'm not sure if that's still, collecting dust in the barn, but would be, the 9 holes that, you kind of go ahead and, back in the day feel very remote with. Not to say that we're not right off of I-90 now either. It's just all that stuff has become closer somehow.
Yeah.
And this was the first 9 they had in the 60s, which their home, Bob's family home is the old pro shop. Whereas some of the local clubs used to be barns, and they do have the old barn. They haven't tore that down yet. But basically created the second 9, and had a really good design put together on that 9 to match up with the original 9. I still love the original 9. I feel more the back is a very close second.
Yeah.
Actually, it would be the front rather.
So it started as a 9-hole. It evolved into an 18-hole. They've kept a lot of the history there. For those of you watching, I will put a link to the golf course in the description underneath the video. I see that you have a lot of photos of the course. It looks absolutely beautiful. And it looks like you offer regular tee time, greens fee, daily rates, as well as annual memberships for people who might want to play more often, right?
Correct. Yep.
And it looks like you also, as a pro, you host some tournaments. Tell us about that. What kind of events do you like to have out at Marengo?
Well, there's the Wittick Cup tournaments that Bob has maintained through the years. The membership gets points based on whatever these events may incorporate. The one that I enjoy is the match play event, which is coming up this spring, this June, I believe is end of May, would probably be the sign up. And it's just a really, enjoyable competition based opportunity for people to put themselves in some of the competitive bases that improve their game, allow you to, sort of involve yourself on a very gentlemanly, enjoyable, laid back way with handicap positions to adjust your level of play. We organize it with guys that have done the events for years. The one that's really fun that we do that I'll mention is at the end of the season we have it's a shootout where basically you take the gentlemen that join, and this is a very rare event that you'll see at some clubs. Very, very few of them actually have this event, but it's where everybody signs up to play a shootout with the first hole of it being 15 to 20 gentlemen. Generally, that's where our numbers are at.
Okay.
Not to say you can't get it over that, but you got 20 guys teeing off on the same hole.
Okay.
And the holes continue to advance with the last number of the 15 guys, when there generally tends to be 2 or 3 per hole, having a chip off, and they will position along the green, and all have to chip, and then turn their back and not be able to see the other competitors chip until till the very end, and then know where they need to position the ball. There's all this little nuance type stuff that and the whole group is traveling from hole to hole to hole. Whether or not you have membership, running along, it's pretty fun.
That sounds fun. So on a shootout, if I remember, you take the group of people and they tee off, and all the people who tie the low score advance. If 10 guys are in the group, 8 of them par, and the 2 that get bogeys, the 2 bogeys are out. Then you go to the next hole, and you keep doing that.
Yep.
All the way to the end.
Yep. With measuring tape.
Oh geez.
And it comes to within inches.
Is it handicapped or is it straight up play?
Straight up play.
That's what I thought. That's
Right up
exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a fun one. That's the end of year. Then throughout there, we have, some different tee box competitions. Red, white, and blue is one of the ones we do around the 4th of July. And it's just a fun $40 entry, competitive, opportunity, really.
Okay. Do you list those on your website, all the events?
Yes.
Okay, you'll put those up there. Okay, so anybody goes to the website, they can see that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I'm gathering is it's a great course. It's got a lot of history. For those of you watching, when you go to the website, you'll see the rates. The rates are decent. They're affordable and not going to break the bank if you go play Marengo. And it sounds like it'd be a nice track and a lot of events and worth the time to maybe go check it out. But let's get back into the things about golf and a pro right now. There's a lot of talk about this. The big box store idea. People just, through marketing and advertising, people are flocking either to the internet or a big box store and saying, I need to go buy a set of this, or I need this new fancy driver, right? And people with your experience, I know that kind of drives them crazy. You're already smiling that the average guy doesn't know any better, but if you just take the time, which is not a lot of time, to get properly fitted and have somebody like you with their experience, look at who the person is, look at the type of swing, and try to get an understanding of what kind of equipment they should have, makes a huge difference when they go to play out on the course, right? So why don't we talk about that when it comes to, with your background in education, how you can help people with, maybe finding the right equipment and also improving their game, because I know you offer instruction. So I wanted to
Correct.
tee that up for you.
Okay. What I will say is, yes, I mean, you can refine your club selection with brand specific, non-brand specific. The improvements you're going to see with being fitted can tend to be substantial, depending on if you may or may not be 6'3", 6'2", or maybe even like 5'4", 5'3",
Right.
in stature, and going from the standard club versus the +1, which some of the taller gentlemen will need, plus a half an inch, depending on the shaft being extended. They will get into varying lie and loft outside of standard, but ultimately, I don't think you need to pay a lot for golf clubs to really be a good option for your competitive play. It just, as long as you're within the standard, non-standard position, and knowing that I'm 5'9", 5'10", I'm going to be standard. I'm going to want a standard grip. You go oversizing your grip. Some of these guys like to +1, +2 their grips. And, you go getting your grip incorrect, you're going to throw off your game a lot more than people think. But, I would say, Facebook Marketplace, Play It Again Sports, those are great options, economic options, and, garage sales, even snooping around garage sales.
Right.
You
never know what you'll find.
No, I have a rescue wood that I got from a garage sale. I've cut it down and given it to one of my daughters. They've hijacked it from me.
There you go.
But it's a great old tour edge.
I like the old one where a guy finds a rusted wedge at a garage sale and they think it's garbage. No, that thing's premium. That's primo.
Right. Yeah. Wedges.
Let's talk about instruction. I think more people should look at getting instruction once in a while. Tell me about that. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree 100% on instruction. I in doing multiple items of enjoyment personally, I've been an avid skier, and I will say, if I hadn't worked with a specific group, my skiing structure would have been in a place that wouldn't have been able to be feasible for me to advance through time. And I restructured it maybe in my 20s. but I was able to have that opportunity of restructuring, and the understanding you need to have transcends into golf tremendously for me, with pursuits of this game being one that, you know, can pull people into places that, you know, are hard to manage. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately to have the guidance you need to make those connections quick, puts you in the right path to be able to go out and enjoy the sport.
Right.
And you know,
when you look at the cost of golf, when you look at equipment, tee times, balls, all that, it can add up, right? And if you don't spend a few bucks to have someone look at what you're doing right or wrong, or some ideas, you never get better. You might get frustrated. I think if you're serious about playing golf and you're open, you have an open mind and you want to learn and grow, being instructed by an Illinois PGA professional is, I've had it, it's well worth it. It can make all the difference in the world. And getting back to the beginning of our conversation, whether it's the physical part, there's also that mental part. I mean, I love golf. I have a passion for it, but there's that old saying about golf. It's a sport set up for you to lose. There's so many things that can go wrong, even if you got everything firing. There's things, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to deal with it mentally. You're not going to be able to control every shot, every ball, every bounce, every roll. And are you doing the right thing? Do you have the right setup? Like you said, grip, you know, swing path, tempo. And to have someone like you with your experience invest some time and money with someone, it's well worth it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Right? There's a major upside to that for people who want to continue to be part of it. You know, the play right now is a challenge for a lot of clubs, because a lot of people don't know the etiquette side of it, which I promote in my junior clinics. You know, it's a big pamphlet of understanding, you know, that yeah, we are required to play 9 holes in under 2 hours. And, you know, how do we go about doing that? Where do we position our bags when we get off one hole and want to advance to the next hole in a timely manner?
Right. Exactly.
You know, all of that. And it's just the little nuances that, you know, that are great. The aha moments that people are able to make personally, you know, and the aspects of just being outside and enjoying nature.
Yep.
It's just unbeatable.
It is.
If you like things that fly, I mean, you're dealing with a flying ball, you know, that yeah, you can control, almost like you would, you know, like an airplane, you know, so to speak, if you know what you're doing.
Exactly. So kind of to wrap this up, for those people listening and watching, Marengo Ridge Golf Club out in Northwest Illinois. I will have the link in the description, which will take you to their website with all the information on the course, tee times, membership, instruction. As Jeff mentioned, the events they have, information on Jeff himself, if you want to get a hold of him regarding the course and or lessons. And it's just a nice way for people to learn about a new course if they haven't heard about Marengo Golf Club. They watch this, they listen to this, and then we can get them over to your website, which I will say the website has a lot of information on it, so it's pretty helpful.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great.
In closing, what do you see in the world of golf these days? Anything new? I know there's talk about the pros are hitting the ball way too far. I mean, where do you think the game is right now? And do you see any changes coming along?
Well, you know, Rory winning the Masters, I mean,
oh my God, that was amazing.
That was, you know, his background too. He's like the biggest little kid in the sport.
Yep.
You know, he'd seen all of the, you know, the junior golf levels, you know, getting the video at a very young age with his pursuits of being able to do the 4-peat or the, you know, the Grand Slam. But it's just a neat story, and it's where a lot of these kids have to be to really keep that competitive edge, you know, with the competition that's out there. And right now, you got to be good. You know, the numbers on winning a tournament these days, I think, and I was talking to a gentleman just recently, are at a very low level.
It's amazing, especially at the high school level in the state of Illinois. What these kids are shooting, it's amazing. The talent.
Yeah, and you know, it's all doable. The game really isn't. That's the nice part. If you don't get the right guidance, it can be very complicated. If you do get the right guidance, it's not that complicated.
Right.
And you can really pursue, some competitive level scoring, and taking that to the next level with, your personal interests. It's just professionally a good place to be, with whatever you're doing. We do a family tournament, my kids and I, and my family every year. I do like the mini courses that are out there these days, and there's a lot of,
There are.
the minis are a blast.
Yeah, the 9-holers that have, a little more par 3 and a few 4s and maybe 1 5. What a fun way to play golf. And, I think the way the world is today, we're all so busy. Jeff, you might agree that 9-hole game for a lot of people, it's a good option. Those of us who like to play 18, it's always going to be there. But for people who are busy with kids or whatever, the 9-hole thing might not be a bad option, to think about playing 9 holes.
Well, and you're breaking down the two that are up at Randall Oaks that are really fun, are the Acorn and the Lynx. You're dealing with, the Lynx style with no trees, to some of the old oaks, that are on the courses. Two completely different types of golf.
Mm-hmm.
Desert golf's another one that would be interesting. Buddies of mine play out there quite a bit.
Yep.
Position golf.
Yep.
But it's neat because, as a family, we try to do one trip, if we can, a year to, get out and see. You wind up being in the environment of places that you wouldn't normally be.
Correct.
And that's actually, a big enjoyment. Some of them are state park run facilities, that are all, attempting to become more native. It doesn't implement with open space, which is a big demand developmentally. And it gives, it does give some animals, area to roam.
Yeah.
Including
right.
us people.
All of a sudden the deer goes walking by, right? It's kind of cool.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure to talk to you. The game is lucky to have people like you in it. And for those of you watching and listening, if you enjoy golf and you want to appreciate the game and maybe learn a little more, Jeff is the kind of person you want to hook up with. I will, again, have the link to the website. I know myself, I'm going to make it out. I'll get a hold of you and come out and play one day at Marengo. I'm looking forward to it. And if you're thinking about lessons or instructions or coaching, Jeff has a great resume, and he actually has his instruction information on the website. You can look at everything that he offers, rates and everything like that. And I see you work with the kids. I think that's awesome. So a lot of good things going on. I'm glad we connected. We'll definitely stay in touch. But Jeff Burnett, PGA Pro out of Marengo Ridge Golf Club, I want to say thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope you have a great season.
Thank you.
All right.